Everyone, please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day that we have today. Just thank you for the sunshine, and just thank you for the more opportunities in front of us, and we thank you for what's ahead of us. We have a lot of activity coming up later this month, especially in April, and just pray, bless it with your hedge of protection. We thank you for the safety that we get to enjoy in this community, but we also can't take it for granted. And we pray for your guidance and your wisdom tonight to help us make decisions that definitely reflect not necessarily our own interests, but yours and your heart for this community. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Amy, if you would.
Gary Elliott.
Here.
Bob Leahy.
Here.
Jason Brewer.
Here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Tito Frias.
Here.
All right. Trust everyone's had an opportunity to review the consent agenda.
I had a couple questions, I guess.
Yeah, Bob.
Um,
Or Gary, I'm sorry.
that's all right. On Jason's sections, it says 2 inches, that should be within 2 inches of the property line. Is that 2 inches?
No.
That seems a little particular.
That
Yeah.
seems pretty close.
Should be 3.
That's a three.
It was in Jason's section when he was talking about the workforce area.
Buffer zone out there
Yeah.
behind workhorse.
I thought that was because it was that close to the edge that people were asking for a buffer zone.
Yeah, but even then, I would think they probably should have had it farther away than 2 inches.
With a 2-inch thing.
From the edge of the property. Right, 2 inches from the edge of the property.
So that is right? That's what that's supposed to read?
That's what I assumed, I'm sorry.
Jason?
For what it's worth, I mean,
Doesn't sound right.
it doesn't change what you guys can deem or what you guys would suggest as most appropriate. If that was, because that's merely, I should say merely, that's Amy recording everything as she hears it. So even if we might misspeak, that could still get recorded that way, but it wouldn't change the.
And please understand that there's been nothing formalized
Right.
as far as a plan, so talking about a buffer zone or some type of barrier is really, it's not pointless, but we can include that in the planning because we're not done or formalized any plan yet. So there's still plenty of time to do that, so we know that needs to be done. We just include that in the PER to do the roadway.
But thanks for bringing it up in case it had been something pertinent to an actual agreement, so for sure. Anything else? Alrighty. I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I'll move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay. Park plan, right, for the last item on the new business. So, so we'll go through department reports. I will not be, at least I'm giving Tim more than a 3-minute heads up. I will not be at the next meeting. I will be out of state. So just a heads up there. As I referenced in prayer, that April, it's not on the sign yet downtown because of we've had some issues locating the letters, and then when we've got the letters, then we're trying to get into the sign. It's locked, and for some reason we don't have access to the key. But we will get that sign changed. And the first week of April is going to be one of the busiest this community I think has ever seen in my memory. By that I mean Friday through Sunday, actually running into Monday. That first weekend, if you will, is the celebration for the 175th birthday for Union City, Indiana. And then April 8th, in case anybody's been living underneath a rock, is the eclipse. And actually, that weekend leading into that eclipse event, Chris Hockey is supposed to be here to perform, so that's pretty cool. And then, and there'll be food trucks and some other events, but I mean, we have no idea what to expect that day. And I will tell you, if you guys have, if it's been broached from a safety standpoint, every officer will be on duty that day. So we can always send them home, you know, if it ends up being, you know, much about nothing, but because we have no idea what the weather will be like. It may look like this, and it may look like it did a couple days ago when snow flying. And then Thursday, Empire Schools will be in town. There are folks from all over the country, and will be in there to observe the projects that the students have been putting together, and pitch competition that will be taking place, and part of that will be occurring at Vision Corner as well, and that leads into Friday, which is the ribbon cutting for Vision Corner. And then and the street will be closed part of the day that day, first part of the day. And then Saturday will be the barbecue, kids orchestrated barbecue cook-off in Union City, and a car show. So like you said, that first, and that, Jason, when does your car show start?
Well, we're going to be participating in that.
With that, okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it would have started in May, second Saturday in May,
Okay.
but April,
Okay.
a month early for this event. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that.
Yep,
And
yep.
so it's going to be a busy time. So
Yep.
all that will be on the sign. Outside of that, I don't have anything else at the moment. Amy, do you have anything at the moment? Okay. Council member Gary, we'll start with you.
I just had one question, and this is, Steve might be gonna address this anyhow, I don't know, but I saw on the board works that we condemned the building on Oak Street. So does that fall under the owner's responsibility? What happens now? I mean, is that his responsibility to have it taken down? Is it gonna be taken down, or, and it's got buildings?
No, there is no intent of it coming down. It's condemned because of the condition and what they've done to the building, primarily on the first floor. It's not safe for people to be living in. Plus, that violates the county zoning ordinance because you can't live in the first floor of a commercial property. So, what was observed from a complaint of a tenant, we were left basically with no choice but to condemn the building. The property owner today at the Board of Works came to address the Board of Works. He has options. We are vetting out all those options. I'm not sure where it's going to go. There would be no intent for the building to come down, period. The damage and the work that needs to be done could be completed, but it's going to be a timely, costly process. And, you know, as we did with Vision Corner, our goal is to save everything that we've got left. So that would be the plan. So it is condemned. We're in the back and forth period of the discussion with the property owner, and there's been no black and white determination as to where it goes from here, but we're not going to allow people to live there and be in danger. So
Good question. Anything else? Oh, sorry, Gary. Is
No,
that
that was it.
Oh.
Yeah.
that it?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Bob?
From the Waste Management Group, Pollution Solutions is now open on Saturdays from 8 to 12. And then starting next week, they will be open on Thursdays from 3 to 6 p.m. And that will be through mid-October.
Okay.
And then the scrapyard in the back part is open year-round, just in case
Okay.
anybody has like some metal or something to
Awesome.
scrap out. So, and that's all I have.
No, good deal. Jason?
No, I do not.
Tim?
Steve covered the the meat of the board works
Yeah.
meeting, so that's all. I don't have anything else.
No, appreciate it. Tito?
Nothing for me either.
Well, Steve?
The only thing I have, we're coming into the spring, I'm assuming spring cleanup, which we've done historically on Memorial Day weekend, in conjunction with the Memorial Day citywide garage sales. From the last council meeting on the high side, they would really like to maybe change that. They're in the process of, passing some new ordinances, and we're working collaboratively for the ordinance officer to maybe be working across the state line as well. They pitched the idea of maybe putting the collection dumpsters on state line and having both public works departments be there manning them and helping people clean up their properties on both sides of the state line at the same time. So I think that's probably a really good practical thing to do. I think we can do it more out in the public's eye at Railroad Park and in that general area, and probably get more done and be a little bit more effective than doing it tucked all the way back in at the south end of Howard Street. So that's up for your guys' purview.
Sounds good.
Are they? What's their timing? As far as date, what are they looking at?
They just want to match ours is what they want to start marketing. So
Yeah.
I told them when we historically do it over here and why we do it that way. We allow the community garage sales to take place, and then, when people's throwing all their crap away, we have the dumpsters there. So that's what we talked about. I told them I would talk to you guys and see if we couldn't put something together and get that on a calendar.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Can we, I'm not sure what all that entails, but should we do it like a cleanup drive or something before the week, the weekend leading up to April 8th? I mean, if everybody's going to be in town, for a special occasion, that might be the best time to
Could we pull that off?
spiffy up the
Can we
place.
pull that off? I mean, I can have the dumpsters here, but I don't know if the community will participate.
Right.
They're accustomed to Memorial Day, but
Right.
we can definitely have.
Oh, because
dumpsters
it's a
available.
clean out the house thing
Yeah.
and sell it off and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
This
a
is
good
a
point,
different
though.
thing.
It's a good idea. Any thoughts, guys?
Our town looks good.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
Well, I mean, I guess a compromise would be we could send out communication that if you are wanting to have your place spick and well, I want to make sure we don't put Pandora's boxes either, but if we want to, if you would like to prepare for all kinds of visitors that are coming to town the first weekend in April, they can come through here and get a permit from the
Well, yeah,
front
so
office.
we've got
and-
that available
Yeah,
all
and
the
take it
time,
down to the
so-
dumpster and.
I have to tell you, I hear the conversation frequently up there, and the dumpster gets filled very
Quickly.
fast.
Yes, it
And
does.
it's a constant
Yes.
turnaround, so, I mean, to add to that, I mean, unless you're gonna put in more dumpsters somewhere, I don't know that would really.
That's the same problem on the high side.
Yeah.
Both sides of town
Fill up quickly.
manage one 40-yard dumpster, and they're literally full within a week of
Yeah.
them being emptied or
Gee, man.
exchanged.
Yeah. And sometimes really quick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot in the course of a year. Okay, well, we'll still plan on Memorial Day weekend, but then if you guys, between now and no later than Thursday, if you think of a good solution or compromise. So I like the idea, I like the concept of putting our best foot forward for April, but at the same time, it just has to be feasible. Anything else?
No, well, you guys have in front of you the vehicle proposal for the wastewater treatment plant. Rob, in conversations with him, is confident that he can make the budget numbers work. He would propose that we do two 1500 series Dodge pickup trucks and one Ford Ranger pickup truck. You can see that the total lease price would be $2,020, $201.09 a month. Again, is managing an aged fleet. We've moved stuff around. What we've moved around, we've already spent a couple $1,000s on repairing, and we're still having oil leaks and problems. This would be the start. When you look at the enterprise proposal in totality, all of the public utilities vehicles are listed together, not separated by department. So this would be the start. Rob is managing the worst fleet, or the worst vehicles in the fleet. So this would be the start of just working on the 15 vehicles that we're managing in that fleet. So I would ask for council's approval to move forward with that.
So what vehicle are we moving out? I know, I'm assuming the red Chevy.
The red Chevy, the white Ford,
The white Ford.
with the cap on the back.
Right.
And then I believe the quad cab Ford that I believe Ron drives now, and we'll move Rob's truck into the street department.
Okay, I'm gonna say, because we've got, so you've got, we've got Rob's got the 3/4 ton quad cab, those ones ex-police department.
Correct.
Then
And we're keeping that one.
we're keeping that, then we've had a half-ton Chevrolet out there that was one of the ones we purchased from Eco. Well, yeah,
Darren's keeping that one.
but we're, okay, so you're talking about, that's why I was trying to figure out where we're going with how many trucks out there. That's,
Well, Darren's floating between street and
Okay.
wastewater. So
Yeah.
Darren's going to be doing primarily lateral inspections, and that's it.
okay.
Um,
So we've got one basically, so you got one Dodge that Bob would be using, one that
and Rob will be driving the
Yeah.
Ranger,
yeah.
or the Ranger, the smaller truck.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, we're keeping the best that we have, and we're going to start cycling out the
Then,
worst.
yeah, so it'd be then Jamie, that's right, isn't it? Jamie and Bob would be in the Dodges and Rob with the Ranger, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And you're gonna, that, the truck Rob's running now is gonna go to,
It's going to go to Brad.
Gonna go to
Brad's
Brad.
truck's going to be cycled down, and
Okay.
everything's just going to be reshuffled.
okay, so we're just, yeah. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, Brad's truck is 11 years old.
Yeah, something like that.
10
I
years
can't
old,
remember
something like
exactly. I
that.
think
So
it's
we're just,
12.
and Rob's is newer, so
somewhere.
we're just
Yeah.
shifting things down.
Okay, yeah,
Getting rid of the oldest.
okay.
So I shouldn't really speak as to where everybody's rear end will be at in the vehicle, but
Well,
that's the general plan. We're getting rid of the oldest. We're leasing.
I'm
3
using,
trucks
I'm
for the-
I'm using names to denote jobs.
I know, and I keep telling Brad, Rob, we gotta stop calling well, that's Brad's truck and that's Rob's truck.
Right, yeah. I'm doing that too.
So,
that-
yeah, so
So, rather than name the jobs, I'm naming the
we're
people.
not adding any vehicles. I'm not sure where or who's going to be driving what, but that's the plan, is to replace the 3 oldest vehicles in the public utilities fleet.
Yeah.
They'll go to the wastewater department. The wastewater department will be managing the payments, and we will update everything, kind of shift everything around. And it's even more confusing because they're all lettered exactly the same, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Well, I'll move we approve the, well, I don't know, want to word this, expenditure for the, or for the lease of
Yeah.
these
3
vehicles, 3 vehicles through Enterprise
As listed.
as listed.
We have a first, and we have a second.
I'll second.
Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
Oh, side note, or that, what are we, how, what's the disposal on the vehicles we're getting rid of? Are they taking those or and giving a trade allowance on those?
Correct.
Okay.
That it, so, okay.
I've done enough damage.
We're going, speaking of damage, old business, tax abatement area. Was just checking to see, what opportunity you guys might have had to land on a designated area that you think we should propose moving forward with.
Did we have this, did you miss this, were you already gone before we had this discussion in the last meeting, or did we have that before you left?
I thought I was here for the whole last
I
thing.
think,
Was I gone?
well, or was, the last.
Okay.
That's my
We've had-
You couldn't convince me I was gone, but I thought I was.
No, it was a meeting before you were gone. I was like, yeah, I ran it. Yeah, see that.
Yeah, we talked
We
about.
had,
Okay.
my view was still pretty much the corridors on the state highway, with the exception of the residential area on North Columbia Street that we can that we kind of designate. But I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we agreed on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how far on Chestnut? How far on that highway?
You mean as far how far out?
Yeah.
It's probably
Uh,
Jackson Pike.
You know, basically Jackson Pike, I'd say. I mean,
Pretty much the city limit. I mean, close
yeah.
enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this what we used to say that because it'd be the city limit, but that's no longer, obviously not the city limit. So, but we'll have to draw that to say Jackson Pike is a little bit murky because of the curve and everything. So we need to have a drawn designated area, I would think, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we have to
I mean-
designate the area.
I mean, as far as we
specifically.
need to look at that map to see exactly how we draw that.
And I have had a conversation with our city attorney. She wants to have a conversation with George, which I've encouraged her to do. So I'll be putting the two of them together so that she's creating the document with his input.
Okay.
So she said that's a pretty typical process for tax abatement districts to involve the assessor. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So would you be comfortable with shooting for down that stretch, but then based on guidance provided by both
Yeah.
George and,
I would think so, yeah.
okay, let's go with that then. Cool. Alrighty, and then aptitude. Any further thoughts based on what previous discussion? Because we still have not received any more. I know you put the offer out to try to secure more other parties.
yeah,
Yes, I would.
I've received nothing, no other proposals from any other company. That's the one. I had a brief conversation with Aaron after our last council meeting. He doesn't understand the council's hesitation because it's the slickest thing that he's done for the school corporation, literally, because it's one post and everything's done. So I don't know where it is from the IT standpoint. I don't know the inner workings, I know the operational side is very, very simple for the superintendent and the principals at the building to get information out to the parents and the students
In quick fashion and
in a very
consistent
quick fashion, and they're only doing it one time.
Right.
To me, that's a big gap for our communication capabilities. That, you know, did we get it on all the social media? Did we get out the same information? Did we phrase it the same way? All of those things are taken care of with this app.
After the last council meeting, I went through and reviewed, I hadn't had a chance to before, reviewed the 3 sites that were listed, which was Randolph Eastern and then 2 other cities that I can't name off the top of my head,
Oh, it's all right.
because it's been a week and a half since I looked at it, but I thought they were all well laid out and looked like, you know, they were pretty user-friendly setups from the website,
Mm-hmm.
and from I didn't download apps for the other cities or anything, but it looked like a efficient system on the observation side of it. So,
That's good.
and this has been a problem we've had for a long time, is being able to get those all compiled, and it takes a tremendous amount of time to sit and list that information every place and with different formats. So.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. Gary, did you have any thoughts? Because I know you're probably more adept, and well, I don't want to speak the rest. Definitely more adept than me in this area, and just.
Well, I agree with Tim. I mean, I had looked at the various sites that they had listed on their actual website, and there was a wide degree of difference between different cities as far as how much information they had. But Steve answered that at the last meeting, that we could put as much information on the actual site itself. It was all under that same amount. So I think that was good. The fact we can send it out to unlimited pages, that's kind of handy.
Yeah.
It would be nice, I don't know, but it'd be good if we can post other pages too, you know, as just a information post. I don't know how that's going to work, but like the Union City, Ohio discussion page, if our stuff could automatically be posted there as well.
I know it can be, because Aaron is posting directly. Every post that Aaron puts on for Randolph Eastern automatically goes to the UC Indiana Ohio discussion page.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it looks good. Like Tim said, their sites look nice. They're very compelling to visually. So, and they do seem to be easy for people to use. So,
Cool. Well, that's
yeah.
good deal. Well, I would definitely open up the floor for a motion to proceed.
I move that we proceed with the Aptigee proposal.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was Jason. Amy, if you,
Sorry.
I can see him when they say it helps me. So, Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
All right, and then lastly, in old business, the economic development land proposal. I did, and I shared this with you guys. Being fully transparent, reaching out to a couple different entities, our legal team, and then also Brian Sheehan, who works for HWC, who used to be city manager for Rushville, which is a stellar community for what it's worth. So, I mean, they've done quite well down there and know what they're doing. And just to see what experience they've had in these access from a highway and in creating access from a highway. And because obviously what we were discussing, the one parcel of land that we don't own that is for sale has highway access. Our parcel of land that butts up against it has no highway access. And so, you know, one could say, well, instead of purchasing that land, why don't you just develop your own highway access to, you know, better promote or market the land that we have? Well, it's not a cheap route to go. More times than not, the minimum route was, I think, what was expected was $50,000. So, but Tim, what are you getting ready?
Yeah, just that's an excellent point, but it's not even. There's an additional point that we've not had any discussion about, is that by creating that access, there may be some potential that adds to a reduction of that property area and usable property area.
That's true too.
And that property is a little awkward in dimension and shape, anyway. But there's some opportunities that could be had in using that from a couple different ways. Partly because there's still the access to the corner of that property from Howard Street, so there's even potential that it could be used in a couple different ways. So while the connection between the two properties in question is not maybe as ideal as what one might think at first, I think it still gives us real good access through there. And I've had some discussion with some other people at county level, and think it's very doable.
Okay.
So
Okay. Any other thoughts? Do you guys feel like it warrants taking the next step and submitting an offer? Not that it would be accepted, but at least broaching that subject?
I would.
I think so. You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
With that.
What should, and basically this would go, it's weird, the bouncing ball. This the offer you guys would submit would be relayed to redevelopment commission, who would then make the offer. But they have to go on whatever council says. So whatever offer you guys would submit or propose, then that's what would be submitted to them to submit to the owner. Did you have a feel for
Nothing since I have no idea what it'd be worth.
what the figure?
I know what he's rejected, and I know what he told me the asking price was, so.
Okay. Well, we're waiting. What was the asking price?
The asking price is $32,000,
Okay.
and I don't think he's going to take anything less than that.
Okay.
I know he's rejected pretty close to that.
Okay.
So we make a motion not to exceed 32,000,
That would be the recommendation.
and then we'll leave it at that for the redevelopment to.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah,
we can
because then we
always-
would actually have to hold another meeting to approve running that bid forward.
Yeah, let me double check my text message just to make sure I gave you the right figure. It's been a few days since I talked to him.
Which is, for what it's worth, more or less dollars. And what was the land we sold next to the fire department? We sold that, which was a fraction of it.
35.
Just shy of 30. And it was
Just shy of 30, but it was how much smaller? It was only a quarter of an acre. And this is how much?
This is a little more than a half, I believe.
Okay, so just about twice the size.
32,000.
Okay. Okay, so is that a motion that you're framing up?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right, new business.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, yes, sir.
Amy, did you get my email from last week when I was out of town?
Your email, which email is that?
About Medora? I forwarded you
Yes.
Mara's ordinance proposal. Did they get that or not?
You did get that, and
We got the one. in the
they got the
packet.
one with the highlights in yellow, so there are areas that still need to be filled in.
Correct. And I haven't got to that today because of other problems, but, or let me rephrase that.
Other opportunities.
I was told that on the street today. I was looking at things all wrong. So,
That's sending the re-education camp.
so that is that's the proposal of what the ordinance looks like. That is what she's doing for other communities in East Central Indiana. I just want you guys to review that and let me know if there's anything that you want to change. Literally, all I have to do is identify the boundary, and then she can have it ready for your passage. But if there's anything that you want to change, I need to know on the front side so we can change it before it's presented to you guys to vote.
So this is on the door.
We're not there yet on the agenda, but okay. But thank you. Yeah, we haven't done the ordinance for the salary amendment ordinance.
Okay.
So yeah, so no worries, we'll be prepped for that then. So yeah, the ordinance number 2024-03, which is the ordinance amending the salary ordinance. This is on the second reading. There have been no changes to this since the first passage on the first reading. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I move we approve ordinance number 2024-03, ordinance amending salary ordinance, second reading.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Although, no, actually, Amy, I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
or Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Burr,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
All right, now the
I
door.
glanced at it this morning.
No, you're good. So yeah, so in essence, any changes that you guys would like to have made, we would, I guess we could slice this cat two different ways. You could make the proposed motion on the first reading, including said amendments, or you can just ask for amendments to be incorporated into it and bring it back for a first reading on the next round, one or the other.
I have a question about the times.
That's the one I was expecting out
Yeah.
of y'all.
Yeah, we started with just festivals, and then we went from festivals to like Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings.
Correct. And
And-
initially we were, in my mind, we were going to start slow and
Right.
progress.
And now we went from 8 a.m.
Everyone-
to 12 p.m.
And
a.m.
everyone that she's done for every other community in East Central Indiana, that's the time slots that she's done. So I'm just,
How many
I
does
don't
that
care.
entail? Did she elaborate?
I know she just did Yorktown. I know she's done, I don't even know. She's done them in Eaton, I think. She's done them in Hartford City.
And they're attorneys for, is it Liberty, or where are they? Where else do they work? Do they represent somebody down, is it Liberty? No, somebody.
So I don't know how to answer that question. I don't think it's wrong to
Festivals only.
cut it back and look at, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't think that's wrong, but I don't. In my mind, if I go to Troy or if I go to Sydney or if I go to another community around here, it's literally 7 days a week. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that question. I think it's up to you guys to decide.
Well, that was my only thing was about the time. I'd like to just see festivals, and if we can have it in place by the time, like in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we can definitely test it out because we'll have enough festivals to be running most of the time, it seems. So that would be my request to be changed. I mean, you guys obviously need to weigh in too, but that's my thought.
The only conversation about just festivals is when it's 80 degrees and a beautiful evening out. You can't go buy a taco or you can't go buy a hot dog at group therapy and a beer and go outside and set on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Where if you at least allow us that latitude, that those things can happen with those merchants. And again, it's yours to create. So if we're going to start with festivals, let's start with festivals and let's work up to whatever it is it becomes. That's fine, but it's just going to be you guys passing amendments to the ordinance, and it's just going to be time is what's involved.
I think it makes sense to do that for our businesses in town, right? They're open, I don't know, Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays for that. That's when people are doing that kind of thing more. I think that would be okay. I know there's been pushback from the public, but like I have been selling it as for events only. So I'm like, oh yeah, so 8 in the morning to midnight every day doesn't sound good to me.
Well,
But I'm okay with that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and plus events if they are on other days of the week.
and again, what that is, that's the times that she put on every other one she's written. If we want to pare that back, we pare it back. All that is you can't do it here when you can do it in other communities. That's what that is. And I would rather just get it started and see where it goes, to see if it does have a positive effect on what our merchants are doing. So,
And by the way, I'm sorry, I did see this online. It's the Yorktown one, pretty much, right? Because the Yorktown has exactly like this format. But there were some others there that were in a different format. So I'm not sure if it was her, but it might be worth looking at those. I was looking for events, but I was in a hurry, sorry. But there might be a different way of doing it for events. But does everybody agree though that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
I would be I would be
Yeah.
okay with the
I'm good
Thursday,
with that.
Friday, Saturday evening thing, say from 5 o'clock till whatever, midnight or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And festivals.
Plus festivals.
It seems you probably want to start earlier than 5, though.
Yeah.
Excuse me, really?
You probably want to start
For
when-
Saturday.
when the bars open,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like 2 p.m. or something.
Yeah, I sleep about Friday.
Ale.
Or Saturday.
Sausage, eggs, and beer. I like that.
well, I think you have to look at it though, not as people drinking a beer with their eggs. I think a lot of people drink a mimosa with breakfast, and you can't do that unless you're in the Dora district and are eating your breakfast outside and you have a mimosa. If somebody was offering that option here in town, that can't be done without this ordinance being passed.
Okay,
So-
I'm gonna
Good point.
bear myself out. Does anybody offer mimosas in town?
I don't know if they do or not.
Okay, I'm just curious. You got me curious. It's like,
I'm just giving an example. Of
No, right,
start
right.
that
I know,
Yeah.
I know they can make it here.
oh, okay. Gotcha.
What?
Mimosas.
Mimosas.
He said they can't make
Who
them.
does?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I can.
I haven't asked.
Amy?
Literally look up the recipes online and make it for you. Whatever you guys.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. Okay, so what do you guys? Where's your heads at? To the point of framing something up?
I'm good either way. Whatever you guys come up with, I'm fine.
Well, if we want to get this in place for the current festival or the festivals that are coming up, I would say we probably want to make it so that we set the times and then have it amended
And
so that we don't have another meeting about it.
I appreciate that, Gary. And for what it's worth, I received an email this morning from Mara, our attorney, who she plans to be here at the next meeting. I won't be here, but she will be here. She plans to be here at the next meeting. So the beauty of that is if you plan a first passage tonight, you can have her at the next meeting, and you can always, if there's nothing that keeps you or prevents you from amending even on the second reading. So if you, after further discussion with her, and you're like, you know what, that's a good idea, let's go ahead and tweak this or tweak that, you can do that on the second reading before final passage and in her presence, so you can pick her brain. Because she would like to meet you guys.
Well, one thing I look at with this, and while I was kind of contemplating this about limiting times from what this is, the real limitation on the times is going to be what the businesses are doing.
And that's true.
And,
That's a good point.
and I don't see, at this point in time, I don't see where we're going to be in a place of a groundswell of interest in early morning mimosas, just from where we are currently, and to where that creates a problem. And so,
What I would propose is we look at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and go. Let's just pick a number. Let's go 2 to 10.
but I guess my point is that the 8 a.m. is really immaterial at that point too, because nobody's doing it,
Yeah,
nobody's
and
serving it.
Nobody's open,
So
That's
it's
a
not
good
really.
point. Keep it in perspective.
You're basically not limiting anybody.
Right.
So, and maybe 8's a little early at that point. But there again, we can just say either 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like that, and definitely Thursday through. I think the Thursday
2 to
through
12.
Saturday on those hours, and then the Sunday hours. So you want 2 to 12?
think that sounds good, considering what group therapy doesn't open till 2 o'clock.
Sure.
Somewhere around there, I think.
So we thinking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday then, at that same hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, you can with if you're going 2 on those days, I think Sunday is appropriate to do. And I think Sunday needs to be open to this at this point, unless we run into a problem with it. I don't think we're going to run into a problem. Period.
So does that mean that if we expand it to Tuesday or Mondays, then we can bring stuff in here? Just thought, I'm just kidding. So I move that we accept the DORA,
Doing that
and
for
we do the DORA resolution with the times from 2 p.m. to midnight on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the first reading, and then have her bring it back at the next meeting.
Very good. So we have a first on the floor. Do we have a second?
Good.
I'll second.
That was Jason. Amy, if you would.
And
roll
that
call.
covers that would cover pretty much any event. I mean, we never have events on Mondays, except for this coming Monday, whatever. But
Oh, I suppose I should say plus should I add festivals into that? Because like Heritage Days would be running all day on a,
That's true.
yeah, so let's plus festivals.
Okay.
Almost forgot
Got
about
it.
them.
Okay. I do have a question.
Good.
I hate asking questions, you know that. So right now, in the current proposal on Sunday, no, give me a break before you say anything. They've got 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. I mean,
noon to
do we
midnight.
want to just leave it at 12 p.m. instead of bumping it to 2? Because if you get the people, if they start doing like a Sunday brunch or something, if a business decides to come in and do that, I could see,
That sounds right.
people going after church for a Sunday brunch and,
That's a good point.
I was okay with that.
Yeah.
My proposal
That sounds
was
fine.
this long
Yeah.
already.
And, well, I'll throw this out there. Saturday's not generally a work day, so is Saturday a place where you have that occurrence too?
And again, they have to be open in order for this to be.
Right.
in place.
Yeah, that's
If you guys set times and just go noon to midnight and have a 12-hour gap for those 4 days, the businesses still have to be open, because you can't bring it from home and just carry it downtown. You have
Right.
to buy it. It
You
has
have
to
to
be in
buy
the
it.
door. Identifiable cup. It has to be something that's bought as a to-go beverage is what it is.
Yeah.
It's to generate sales and encourage people to shop downtown. That's what it's for.
Why don't we just leave it 8 to whatever? I mean, business don't even open at that hour. But like if they
Now we
open,
don't have to go back and change it again.
I mean, we
I
can,
don't know, I'm not okay with that.
Okay.
2 o'clock, yeah, they're not open yet, but it still could open up stuff, yeah, 2 o'clock would be. I
Even
mean,
on
I
Saturday?
can see what Amy's saying with 12 on Sunday, yeah, that'd be all right,
Yeah.
but
What about 12 on Saturday?
anybody? Okay,
That's fine.
yeah,
I
Saturday.
think
would be-
I think
yeah.
12 on Saturday would be take away a little restriction off of it, so it gives a little versatility.
Amy, does that look like an NFL playbook down there now? With all the
yeah. Okay, so we are back to 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Thursday and Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, 12 to 12, plus festivals.
Yeah.
Now, the plus festivals, are we just
I wouldn't
leaving
identify it as festivals. I'd identify it as a city-sanctioned event.
city
Yeah.
There you go.
center?
Okay.
There you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
That keeps it safe. So, are you confident in the language for the first? Okay, so we have a first on the floor.
Do we have to designate this area for this motion, or do we need to, or can we just
You
say
guys
that?
already have designated the area.
Okay.
I just have to spell
You
it
just
out.
need to
tomorrow.
spell it out.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
So do we have a
Did you
second?
Did you say?
I'll second.
Tim, second. Oh, sorry, Jason, Bob.
I
Sorry.
thought Jason did.
Okay, no, I didn't.
That was prior
Or
to.
Jason, are you
Right.
seconding the?
I'll second my second.
Okay. Because I think it was tweaked since your first second. So.
Yeah, it was
Lord.
tweaked after.
It was,
Yes.
Yeah.
Amy, I would entertain a roll call vote.
All right, Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Burr.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
So we're not at all considering a Dora at Hard Park.
You can't have a Dora at Harbor Park
How's that?
because it has to adjoin a liquor license.
Doesn't the VFW over there do that?
That's a good question.
Maybe we can look at that another time or whatever.
I can look into that.
Well, and that could be for the next meeting.
It's a large reach, I think, because the most logical place to create your geographic space is at Shelter House 8, where you have all the facilities at. And around there, that's where we do the 4th. That's where the rodeos, the horse shows, and all that's at. We can look into that.
And we're doing those with a temporary
A temporary license.
Maybe we can do that as an amendment later.
Yeah.
So we want to get this
Yeah.
through.
I would be cautious about that actually butting up to the door, because our geographic area, I don't know that you want to create all of Harder Park as your door, because it would be almost too big to
Yeah.
enforce. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Very good.
Now, you start selling beer pops at the pool, then maybe that changes.
Oh, jeez.
No, I'm just kidding.
I wasn't in the grave by then. Our park plan. I will. You don't mind introducing yourselves to the group? And
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Kyle Leakin. I'm a landscape architect with HWC Engineering. Been with HWC about 11 years. Also with me is Erin Solis. She'll kind of follow the second half of this presentation. This evening I want to give you just kind of an overview a little bit of the parks master plan, the process we've gone through, and some of the preliminary recommendations that have come out of that. For some of these, this may look familiar for some of you. We were here September 11th, kind of for a public workshop and presentation at the more beginning of this process. Since then, we've had a couple other touch points, surveys, and met with Sarah Black and the Playground Paradise Group, met with the Park Authority, had a couple other opportunities as we've gone through this plan to develop and try to flesh out some of the priorities within the community. So briefly, I says kind of what is a park and rec master plan. Not going to go too heavy on the park inventory, but focus more time then on public input summary, a little bit of needs analysis, and then kind of key takeaways and plan recommendations. So park and rec master plan, it is not anything that council has to take any action on. It is not like a comprehensive plan or any ordinance. It is a guide, a policy, serves the park authority, serves the city in understanding what priorities are in the community, what people would like to see. Serves as a guide for that, and kind of really, the way DNR sets these up, they want them updated every 5 years if they get DNR approval, and it's just kind of an opportunity to take a pulse, if you will, of the community and what they're looking for. Some reasons for that, in addition to identifying and understanding what people would like to see in the community. Once it's approved through DNR, it also makes the city eligible for any funding opportunities that come through the DNR. They've got, in the past, they've had several different trails programs. They're going to continue with some iteration of trails programs, I'm sure, into the future. Land and Water Conservation Fund grants, which are administered by the DNR, but are actually federal funds from the Department of the Interior for multiple types of park improvement projects. None of those are on the table or eligible without an updated and approved park master plan. So in addition to the opportunity to kind of educate what's happening, what has happened, and what people like to see, it's a mechanism to get the city eligible for certain state funding opportunities. History of the parks, I think I'm not going to go get detailed, but just for those who don't know or here are interested or watching live stream, the Board of Public Works serves as the park authority for the city. They meet second and fourth Mondays of each month at 9:30, the Board of Works does. Following that meeting is Park Authority meetings. So any issues relating to the park or taking actions to the park occur at that time and open to the public as well for input and comment. The last Park and Rec plan was completed for the 2018-2023 timeframe, so that's we're in the process of updating currently. Since the last plan, a few just notable items of note. The historic rail tower moved to Artisan Park, new covered bridge, renovated equestrian area, pickleball courts, improved disc golf, landscape and trees at Artisan Park. This past year submitted for Next Level Trails grant opportunity. Was not successful in that realm, but a lot of those grant applications kind of build upon each other, which can lead to other opportunities. So the city's been active in making improvements even since the last plan update 5 years ago. Within the city, what we've looked at or what's kind of encompassed within this is Harder Park, Artisan Park, and Gateway Trail. Though not shown on here, but also acknowledged in the plan is East Side Park on the Ohio side. I'm preaching to the choir of the unique situation that you're in as the city, but in something like this, especially acknowledging those recreational resources and population, not just in Indiana, but also on your other half in Ohio. As part of the plan, we look at taking a detailed inventory. There are inventories and descriptions of each park and kind of some of the constraints or issues facing those parks based on our observations and analysis and comment. DNR likes to understand an inventory as well. This inventory, kind of the snapshot I have, which Aaron will touch on, is also useful when we look at just kind of national benchmarks or national standards to see for populations or areas about the same, how does Union City compare? And that is useful, especially when compared with public input, just to see if there's some things that have been requested by the public that also show up as a national benchmark or standard that a lot of communities can help reaffirm and confirm some public input pieces. The plan itself, we will get an updated draft to Steve to post on the website. I know the past plan was on there. Kind of time frame for this, we said we had met the public workshop in September, met in October with the high school group, later in October with the Park Authority. We submitted, as per the requirements, a draft of the plan to DNR for comment. They provided comments to us in December. We've been working on addressing those, and we'll be looking at submitting a final plan to DNR by April 15th for DNR's record keeping and approvals, which opens up that eligibility window for any grants. So public input, I mentioned we had the public survey, a public open house. We met with the high school Paradise group. We had 18 questions that went out with the survey. Flyers were posted around town and in mailers. We received 203 responses through that process. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but give a few of the highlights that we noticed. Parks that are used the most, I don't think any surprise, but Harder Park, followed by Artisan Crossing Park is a distant second. Your Harder Park is obviously kind of lifeblood of the community in terms of park and rec offerings, and that's reflected in the survey. Top 5 responses for what people like to participate in the parks: walking and jogging, using the playgrounds, shelter houses, special events, which are kind of just discussing a little bit of those programmings and city events, and swimming, so good use for the pool. What keeps people from using city park facilities are outdated amenities, safety, and I will add on here, a lot of that is perception of safety. I think if you actually looked at police logs or records, there's probably not a list a mile long of actual events, but just a perception of safety, which can be lighting, which can be feeling that it's isolated. Lack of restrooms, people using parks outside of Union City, or just lack of awareness of offerings and events, which probably goes back to the Apogee conversation you were having earlier. Opportunities or amenities or improvements you'd like to see or improved. Top responses on those of the choices we gave, including another option, were playgrounds, splash pad, restrooms, walking trails, and natural areas or nature areas.
Kyle, could you refresh me?
Yeah.
Could you could list, because it's been a while since we
Yeah.
did this. Could you list multiple things as what you wanted to see improvements in, or do you have to list one thing? I'm trying to recall.
So on this we have it, and a lot of times on these surveys we try to ask the question a couple different ways.
Okay.
On this specific question, you could check all that apply.
Okay.
Of the ones we provided, and we had to write in the response option as well if one of the options we provided was not there.
Okay, thank you.
If you use the pool, we had some specific questions about the pool as well, with that being such a focal point and community asset. If you use the pool, what improvements would you like to see at the facility? Again, it was a check all that apply question. Updating the bathhouse, and in conversations we had kind of fleshing that out, just some modernization of that. People's expectations for what they get at a bathhouse is different than when the pool was built. Adding shade to the pool deck. New aquatic amenities, had a lot of discussion about kind of a toddler area, which you see in a lot of pool facilities now. Adding more pool deck space itself, and more concession offerings. of those aquatic features, when you go back to that number 3 on the previous question, those new aquatic amenities, a toddler zone is most popular, and a lot of the pools we've worked with, that could be just like a little seat wall that allows kind of a corralled space for toddlers that parents can be with. A lot of times older pools have the actual separate kiddie pool. Newer facilities are looking at just kind of integrating that with the rest of the pool, but separating with a little seat wall or other mechanisms so parents are kind of there. They might have other kids that are older in the pool as well. Water slides, water play structure. So you may have seen these at some different facilities, almost like a small little playground type structure. Sometimes they have little platforms or little slides in the pool itself. That works when you have a zero entry. So you start at 0 and slope into a pool, but adding a water play structure. Or like splash pads, can see those two built on deck without any actual standing water. And water aerobics programming was, we opened it up as features or programming, and that snuck in there is not just a capital improvement idea, but actual programming. Programming or events you would like to see at the parks, generally just more community events. I think people really enjoy having those festivals and events at the parks. Hobby and interest classes, youth summer camps, outdoor winter activities, and fitness classes are all types of programming that people would prefer. Question 14 is a variation on one we had before, but of the capital improvement projects, of the following potential capital improvement projects, which are the highest priority. And we pulled these a lot from previous grant applications that were done from the previous parks plan, kind of as a starting point to identify. And those again were update, replace playgrounds, add a splash pad, update, replace restrooms, widen and repair the trail in Harder Park, and update and replace shelters. So corresponding again to the other question about what people would like to see within the park. So generally kind of emerging consensus is definitely the focus on the playground equipment, which I know that's not a new topic for the group or for the community with the work the high school students have been doing to try to fundraise and make ideas for a new playground, improving the restrooms at Harder Park, providing a splash pad would be a longer term priority, widening and repairing the walking trails. I know that's been discussed many times in the past and past grant applications and continues to be a priority, and increasing natural areas. Well, Aaron, take over just for a little bit, kind of talk about some of those national standards we look at and how that informs the recommendations as well.
Yes. So like you mentioned, we look at some of the national standards so we can make plan recommendations and kind of analyze where we're at currently. So we looked at IDNR, Department of Natural Resources, their publications, National Recreation and Park Association, and the Trust for Public Land, which all published a lot of these trends and standards. So, and like we say, it's only a comparison. It's not that we have to, meet exactly what they're recommending, but it gives us a good guide of kind of where we should be and where we want to be. So key takeaways from the DNR publications, top outdoor recreation activities in Indiana are typically walking, jogging, relaxation, gardening, bird and wildlife watching, health-related activities. The top favorite outdoor recreation activities, again, walking, running, jogging, camping, hiking, fishing, and boating. So looking at Randolph County as a whole, we are doing really well. We've got, looks like nearly 47 acres over the recommended park space. So as a whole, the county is doing really well. And then again, walking, jogging, running tends to be the most popular activity in Indiana. Looking at NRPA, we looked at what users identified as their favorite park and recreation activities, visiting local parks and playgrounds, hiking, biking, walking on a trail, playing sports, visiting local swimming pools or aquatic centers, and visiting local recreation or senior centers. Park and recreation agencies serving jurisdictions less than 20,000, which is kind of that benchmark, so that's where Union City falls in.
That is the smallest category that NRPA
Yes.
breaks down the grouping by.
So under 20,000 in population, the average is 13 acres of parkland for every 1,000 residents.
Nailed that.
And then parks and recreation agencies serving, again, that less than 20,000, manage and maintain a median of 4 miles of trails for walking, hiking, running, and biking, which as we know is the most popular activity. From the trust of public land, the average percentage of population that's within walkable distance of a park is typically 74%. And the average percentage of parkland that is designed is 48%, and then natural areas of 52%. And the overall median parkland per 1,000 residents is 13.1 acres for that publication. So putting those all together in a chart and looking at where Union City stands, you can see in that first category, DNR, the recommended acres per 1,000 residents is 20, and then NRPA is 10.5, TPL is 13.1. Based on Union City's population, then that second column shows what the recommendations would be. So DNR would recommend Union City have 101 acres. NRPA is 52.9 and TPL is 66. So there's a broad range, and we actually fall right in the middle of that. So Union City has 73 acres of parkland. So looking at DNR, they say that we're deficient here, but the other two, we are above both of those recommendations.
DNR has big dreams on parkland.
Yes. And again, the county as a whole has more than what's recommended, so I think Union City as a whole, parkland is in a good spot. As far as miles of trails, the recommended is 4 miles, and currently there's only 1 mile of trail here in Harder Park. So that is an area that we would recommend to improve. So key analysis takeaways, again, the park acreage, we are in a good spot. One item that we did notice was the north side of Union City is lacking some park space, and it looks like there's a city-owned parcel that there have been talks that it could potentially become a park at some point, so that's something to consider.
Where it again?
I have to show on a map. I don't have the exact location. But
I think it's what we were talking about before. I think it's the one on 28.
might be. I'll pull a map and we can look
Yeah.
and confirm. But when we had conversations with the park board,
In our conversation, we have potential options at the Governor Gray housing neighborhood to put in park area.
Oh,
And
across Jackson.
We also have
Okay.
an opportunity at the intersection of 28 and North Howard Street with that triangular shaped
yes.
property. We could develop that into a park space.
Okay.
Yes, and when we publish the draft plan, there's a map that marks those
Okay.
locations that you
Okay.
can take a look at as well. For trails and greenways, like I mentioned, Union City currently has 1 mile of trails, and so that should be a priority to focus on expanding that trail network. Public survey shows that the trail in Harder Park is highly used and is in need of repairs and widening so that it can accommodate more users. And the Gateway Trail extension from Artisan Park to Harder Park should be a priority as well. That was the one that we had applied for the grant but didn't receive yet, but that's still on the radar for the
Now,
future.
the Gateway Trail, would that go toward the number of miles in a park that would?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure.
Yep, that would still be considered park, and then it would connect additionally with the existing trail in Harder Park and create a connection all the way through the city and then onto the Gateway Trail
Super.
into Ohio.
And that is a very good point, Mayor. We probably should look at putting an asterisk on our inventory of a good chunk of that mileage is in Ohio. But again, that's a benefit to the city.
Right.
And to note that that is a mileage that is in the city in
Correct.
addition to Harder Park.
Very good. Thank you.
As far as park amenities, like Kyle mentioned, the playground equipment at Harder Park is a high priority, getting that replaced. It's also been talked about moving that, relocating that in Harder Parks to protect those existing trees. They're old growth trees, and so in order to make sure that they stay healthy and keep that amenity, we want to relocate that play equipment. Public input also emphasized the need for better restroom facilities at the parks. Artisan Crossing Park is in need of some additional shade and seating areas. I know you've got some more seating, but I think some additional shade out there is still a priority. The desired improvements at the public pool that Kyle mentioned include more pool deck space and more shade on the pool deck, and also better aquatic features, especially for toddlers. A splash pad is also highly desired by the city, and all the new and existing park facilities should be made ADA accessible. So currently we are missing some ADA connections to some of the park amenities, especially at Harder Park.
And that becomes a priority on DNR certainly as they look, and it's one thing to have an accessible parking space, but then actually have an accessible pathway to that shelter, to that amenity that they may be servicing.
And then as far as programming, the public response was that the city is doing well, hosting a variety of community events. They enjoy those, and so they would like to see even more if possible. And then the hobby and interest classes and youth summer camps were also things mentioned that the public would like to see in the future. So as a result of this feedback, we are going to have some priority recommendations in the plan. We just want to review those. So again, expand and update the amenities at Harder Park with the new playground equipment, improved restrooms, and other facilities desired by the community. Extend the Gateway Trail across the city from Artisan Park to Harder Park. Improve the quality and capacity of the existing Harder Park Trail network. Improve and expand the existing aesthetic and amenities with Artisan Crossing Park by providing the parking, trail connections, and picnic pavilions. And seek out and apply for grants to aid in the expansion and improvements of outdoor recreational offerings. The recommended actions, system-wide, we'd like to explore options for new park space on the north end of the city, extend the trail network for Artisan Crossing Park, continue the movie nights, provide additional shade, and better delineate parking. Harder Park obviously is the biggest and so has the most recommendations. So we're also going to be working on a overall master plan for Harder Park to do some improvements and relocate some of those amenities to better serve the community. But this whole list is based on public feedback and things we've heard from the city. All of these will be on that list for the master plan of Harder Park.
I would say part of this, it's a 5-year plan. The expectation is certainly not that all of these will happen in a 5-year. I mean, some of these are large capital improvement projects. When you look at the playground or a splash pad or restrooms, each of those on their own are a significant project. But having an understanding what those priorities are, and that way as grant opportunities and funding opportunities fluctuate and give you different opportunities, got a good solid understanding of what some of those priorities are, and opportunities to focus and work on what does make sense over the next 5 years.
Yep. So next step with this, the master plan will be adopted by the Park Authority, and then the plan will be submitted to DNR by April 15th. So that will be our next, I believe at the next meeting, is that right?
We'll review it and take some action at that
Yeah.
point. And that mentioned, we'll get the plan to Steve to post on the website, so anyone else wanting to kind of flip through and see any of this information in a little more detail, detailed survey summary within that, and the analysis of the parks and discussion of the park facilities.
Super.
Yeah. So it's a lot of information, but any questions?
One question, one thing that jumped out at me is that in the beginning part was more public feedback or input, and then the second half was more recommendations and analysis and plans. And so what I noticed was that from the public input, there was a little more emphasis on the splash pad. And then when we got to the planning and the recommendations, there's a little less focus on the splash pad.
If you'll go back, it's definitely one of the recommendations within Harder Park,
Yeah.
still in the splash pad. I think when we looked at that overlap of, the overlap of what communities this size offer, a splash pad isn't necessarily one that's always on there. So trying to take that combination of both the amenities that public have expressed, and splash pad certainly was one of those top 5, and comparing them with national standards and recommendations. There's not a priority or order to these at this point. Okay. So I think the fact that it's still on here, should there be more push from that, should a funding opportunity arise, keeps that within that top top recommendation or need.
Just I noticed that when we were looking at the early part, like it was like the second one.
It was,
the
yeah, if you
second
go back
top
to the-
both times.
the public survey.
Yes.
Just saying.
I mean, playground and splash pad both. Yeah, we're in that top
Really?
5 and maybe top 3 or top 2 at the beginning of the,
Yes,
the
here it is.
survey input.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think, again, probably should just put bullets on that instead of
Oh.
numbers.
Necessarily.
So
Okay.
yeah, so not necessarily priority on there. They are priorities, but not ranked as that were listed.
See, because right there,
Yes.
it's number 2.
Yeah.
On the right.
Yes.
Yeah, so
And
that
somewhere else is also number 2.
capital improvement, and if I go back to that question I wrestled before, it was number 2 there as well in terms of what improvements or amenities. So very valid and good observation on that.
The playground equipment clearly is the number
Yes.
one.
Absolutely.
The trail, which ranks right up, those from a bird's eye view from back here, those splash pad, trail, playground equipment, they all were pretty nip and tuck, weren't they? In
Yeah,
terms
we
of
go back to,
ranking.
that's just a good
You're
useful
split,
slide.
we're almost splitting hairs, I think, with
Okay.
because the reason why I bring that up is the trail. How much insight have you guys been afforded regarding Lilly and their trail
So yeah,
endeavor?
I know Randolph County the Community Foundation is pursuing a Trails Master Plan.
Right.
Eli Lilly Foundation has supported community foundations across the state with a planning level grant.
Right.
As part of that planning level grant, in mid-April, the Lilly Foundation will come out with guidance for a concept paper submission. At the end of April, those community foundations can submit a concept paper for funding of a project. So I know Randolph County is aware of these as a priority and evaluating them in the context of the county, but in terms of the trail. Because the county did also get funded on a next level trails project.
Right.
Just not this one.
Right. And see, my contention was that okay, they're getting funding for the south end of the county through next level trails.
Mhm.
So the Lilly dollars were supposedly up for grabs. I use that liberally, obviously, but in play. And I was told by our community foundation in their discussion with them, being Lilly, that Lilly wanted to try to keep them, because this was broached.
Yeah.
And Lilly wanted to keep the momentum on where the trail was already being developed versus coming over here. And
I
I
haven't heard any of that.
see, and I'm trying to validate or verify that, I should
Yeah.
say, because I want to press that hard, because I disagree with that vehemently. Yes, I understand the impetus to extend a trail, but let's call it like it is. We're talking about a trail that's out in the country. And here we've got a trail that connects 2 states and goes from one end of the town to the other, the proposed trail would, and redo the loop around the park. So it provide immense value, not only to anybody that want to come in and travel the trail, which I don't know what the mileage would be in terms of how much ground that would cover going from the edge, on the Ohio side to
It would be
Being
pretty
city,
close
I
to
mean,
the 4 miles.
Yeah.
be close to 4 miles, which would be something in and of itself, but also would serve the entire community. And so you'd have a built-in user base, if you will, versus folks that have to travel to partake in a trail that's out in the country. And so I understand the interest to try to build on the momentum is what I was told from Lily's perspective, if that is indeed what they'd said. But at the same time, I think a valid argument could be made is if you create some inertia on this end of the county that's already connected to a state, there's more, I think, intrigue to get it connected inside the county then. Because if you've got something of value here that people would want to see, then I think it creates an energy, if you will, to try to get us connected or get them connected to us. Does that make sense? Because they're obviously trying to connect over into Ohio.
And I think in that concept paper, when the Community Foundation submit that, the ones I viewed in the past, there's a couple years that Lilly did this process again. It's this process this year is called Gift 8. It was Gift 7, and it's Giving Indiana Funds for Tomorrow. That's where the gift part of that comes from. That concept paper is really a narrative trying to make the case for the project. So that April 30th deadline is just trying to make a very compelling argument. And I think, I'm biased because I helped put together the Next Level Trails application, But I think it's a strong, compelling case, especially when you look at the miles of trail that could connect onto the Ohio side once that connection is
Right.
made in Ohio as well.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it certainly warrants anyone who has connections with the Community Foundation or those who may be on that board to continue pushing conversations on that.
I will be absolutely doing that.
That's certainly, I think, a valid argument and makes a strong regional compelling case as well.
Yes.
Especially when you're getting another regional trail funded
Yes.
to then build on that with another trail that can make big regional connections.
Correct. Correct.
Go to their board meeting.
Yes.
We've got a good case, and you're the best guy to sell.
I will be there. As long as it's not next week, God, or not next week, the week after. God willing, it not be the week after.
It's next Thursday.
Next Thursday. Okay.
It's the
What-
third Thursday of the month,
What time?
5.
5 o'clock.
Oh, son, a nutcracker. Okay, I'll see if I can make that on the way over. Okay, because yeah, I mean, I think it's critical because one thing I've not shared with you guys is I've got Bob has seen this. In fact, I think he's the only room in the room so far that's seen this, and it's been going around, making its rounds amongst people. I've got a huge Ball State plan. The landscape architecture group at Ball State did a plan for the trail within the town in terms of amenities to insert into the trail. And because my idea is, I mean, we not only make this nice trail from one end of the town to the other, but things are inserted into the trail that give what everybody's been clamoring for, and that is things for people to do. And you guys will each get to see this proposal that they came up with, but it's impressive. And it's not break the bank type proposals too. A lot of it's creative stuff that would be reasons to get out on the trail and take a walk. So, because I know there's people watching this right now, it's like, well, I don't want to use the trail. I don't want to just get out and walk. I'm tired of walking. I work all day. I want to go home and sit. Well, okay, I get that, but you might have kids, or you might have grandkids, or you might have neighbors that they don't want to get out and walk, but maybe they have something they could do on the trail, an activity, that they can take part in. And so, and then makes you want to take the trail a little bit further because then on down the way there's something else, And so, if we build this right, we absolutely can be the reason why both states want to get here. And so that's the way we've got to frame it up, and that's the way we've got to think.
And that, in terms of and we're not involved with the Community Foundation planning effort, aware of it, but what Lily looks for in that is an innovative and something that catches her eye. So beyond just being a trail, something that adds on these other elements is something that can help make.
I want to definitely be a part of that. And I love corn and beans as much as the next person. My family, a lot of my family's in farming, but good Lord, I don't have much desire to walk just to see another bean field or cornfield. I can do that all day long. But if I can walk to another state within a couple minutes and have activities to do or for my kids to do, that now we're talking about something. Grand scheme of things, I want us to be able to go region to region. I would love for somebody to be able to get on their bike or put their shoes on over in the edge of Illinois and come all the way over into down by Tip City, over in Ohio, and come through Union City along the way. That's the grand plan. But we've been, let's face it, guys, we've been talking about these rails to trails for how many years now? Yeah, thank you. And so we need to start lighting a fire under some of these segments of trail so that we give people a greater emphasis of, okay, we've got to get our tail to Union City, and we've got to get there. Because once you get there, you not only get into another state, but they've got a lot of cool things along the trail to do. And it's connected to a park. And it's connected to a downtown. And it's connected, So, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just was curious where you were at.
No, keep on.
So we've got to make this happen. So, but very well done.
The Ball State plan, is that one they're currently working on, like a current year project with them? That's great.
Yeah.
We're both Ball State grads as well.
Awesome.
Landscape architecture group, so.
I think I graduated before you both were born, but that's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, very, very well done. Any other questions or comments from council? Okay. Well, so this will be approved at the next Board of Works meeting?
The Park Authority will review
Park
kind
Authority.
of pending concerns or any additions they want to add and look at a resolution, just adopting the plan, so that it's not a binding,
Right,
but
right.
adopting it so that it can move on to DNR for their records.
Super. Great job, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any visitors wishing to address the council? Not. We have our next, just a heads up, guys. Again, I will not be here for the next one, which will be March 25th, next council meeting at 6 p.m. Board of Works will be that morning at 9:30 a.m. Keep in mind, our council meeting in April is April 8th. That's the date of the eclipse. As long as you guys are all good with that, we'll carry on with that, but just a heads up. So be thinking about that, because Amy did pose, are we sure we want to meet that day?
The eclipse will be over.
Yeah, we'll be over. Yep. And God willing, we'll all still be here. So, all right, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a first by Tim, and I think a second by Jason. No, Bob?
I'll say it.
Oh, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.